Welcome back, folks. It's 28 minutes past 6 o'clock. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning, and as I mentioned earlier, I hope you had a fantastic Republic Day yesterday. Well, let's talk about this particular issue. The role of the Office of Public Procurement is to establish best practice in procurement and keep a database of tenders and contracts. The board was appointed earlier this year, and we are joined on set by Mr. Munilal Lalchan, the Chairman and Procurement Regulator. They have a couple of upcoming workshops tomorrow until Friday. Mr. Lalchan, good morning to you, sir.
Morning, Hayden, and a pleasant good morning to your viewers this morning on TV6.
So, if we could begin at the beginning and talk about how the actual act has been operationalized. To this date, what we do have in place so far is the board.
Yeah.
What are the other implements that need to be present before the act is fully operationalized?
Yeah, well, just to give a background, the act was actually established in 2015, and we have had two subsequent amendments in 2016 and 2017. The act was partially proclaimed in July of 2015. And one of the things that happened in terms of the partial proclamation is the appointment of the board. And the board was appointed by the president on January 12th of this year. The board has been put in place to start to get things operationalized insofar as the act is concerned. And until the act is fully proclaimed, there are certain restrictions in terms of what the office can do and cannot do. Part of what we are about this week is in respect of getting some of those things in place. We have already gotten together draft handbooks, which is required under the Act. We also have draft guidelines. And the piece that is on the critical path right now is in respect of development of the regulations.
Right. What is preventing, what are the barriers to having the Act fully proclaimed?
Well, the particular issue that we are dealing with is the regulations. And once we have the regulations approved by Parliament, then we can go for full proclamation. And the intention is to get the regulations in place and pass it on to the Honorable Minister of Finance to take to Parliament. And once that is done, and we hope to get that done by the end of this year, then we should be in a position to ask for full proclamation. Once the act is fully proclaimed, then we will be in a position to start doing what I think the entire population is looking forward to in terms of getting this board operationalized. The other thing that what we have done so far, you must remember that in January, you appointed a board and a procurement regulator, one person. So I was the first full-time, let's say, employee in the Office of Procurement Regulations. What we have done so far, and there were a number of positions we had to fill to get it up as quickly as possible. Among those positions are procurement experts to help us with the handbooks, the regulations. We have lawyers on board. We have recruited lawyers, full-time lawyers. We have our HR, finance, IT, because part of the act is requiring us to put database in place.
Right.
And the databases now, we have gotten our chief information officer on board. So all those things have been taking place. Additionally, what we have been doing, we have met with a number of key stakeholders. The civil society group, we have met with them a couple of times already. Last Friday, we met with APET. We have had a meeting with the Coalition of Service Industry. We have met with the Union Club. We have met with the British High Commissioner and the British Chamber of Industry and Commerce. And we continue to meet. We have a session with the Port of Spain Central Rotary Club coming up on the 4th of October. We are meeting additionally with the Contractors Association on the 3rd of October. And then we go to Tobago and meet with the Tobago House of Assembly and all the key stakeholders in Tobago on October the 19th.
Yes.
So this week actually is to put a number of pieces together. So what we have set aside the next 3 days. The consultant who is helping us with the regulations, he is coming this afternoon actually, and we are meeting with the key stakeholders. So just to give you an idea of every day the session runs twice a day. The first session starts at 8 in the morning and goes until 12. And the second session starts just about 1:15 and goes until 5. So on the first day, which is tomorrow, we are meeting with all the business sector leaders and the business community and so on. We have the Rotary clubs, the accounting, engineering, civil society groups, the chambers. And then in the afternoon, tomorrow, we're meeting with all the chief procurement officers and change agents from the government ministries, the Central Tenders Board, because with the Act being fully proclaimed, the Central Tenders Board goes away.
Right.
So you don't have a Central Tenders Board again. We're meeting on Thursday morning with permanent secretaries, deputy permanent secretaries, heads of departments of government ministries, and the Integrity Commission. And then on Thursday evening, CEOs, chairman of boards, chief procurement officers of state enterprises. I think that's the one that is fully subscribed already. We have 3 of those sessions already fully subscribed. And then on Friday morning, we are meeting with the CEOs and chairman of regional health authorities and the regional corporations. And on Friday evening, we are meeting with the non-government organizations. So all the NGOs, that is also fully subscribed. The ones that we have space in still, just a couple of spaces, is tomorrow morning and on Friday morning.
What number should these folks call if they wish to take a seat at these sessions?
Well, you can go on our website. It's oprtt.org.tt, and it will give you the instructions as to how you go about registering. You register online, you print out the ticket, and when you come, you just scan, go straight in, and so on. Just to give an idea of some of the agencies that falls under the Act that is responsible for being regulated. You have the Office of the President, the Parliament, the Judiciary, a ministry or a department or a division of a ministry. You have the Tobago House of Assembly or a division of the Tobago House of Assembly, a municipal corporation established under the Municipal Corporation Act, a regional health authority, a statutory body, any state-controlled enterprise, and a service commission established under the Constitution. So it's wide-ranging.
Yes.
And any procurement activities taking place once the Act is fully proclaimed, all these agencies fall under the Act. Additionally, what we are encouraging these agencies to do is that even though the Act is not fully proclaimed, we want them to adopt best practice. We have already issued the draft. We will be discussing the regulations, the draft handbook, and the guidelines during the sessions this week. And what we have done, we have it on the site. So if you go on oprtt.org.tt, you can get copies of the draft handbooks and guidelines and look at what is already there. And we expect people to start practicing those good, well thought out practices as you go forward.
Mr. Lachan, could you explain to the public, in terms of what the Office of the Procurement Regulator is actually attempting to achieve here? Is it that you are reviewing all contracts issued or requests for proposals issued by these entities that you just mentioned? Is that how it works?
No, the Office of Procurement Regulation is a regulatory body. So what we do, we set the tone in terms of the handbook and guidelines and so on. The Act is very clear what is expected from what you might call cradle to grave. From the beginning, from how you go about pre-qualifying contractors,
yes,
to the time when you have completed a contract and post-investment appraisal after the contract is completed. So everything in between, the state enterprises are responsible for that.
How then does the OPR get involved in the issuance of a contract? Is it a case that you randomly select some contracts that have been issued within a certain time frame and you review how those contractual approval, that contract approval process was actually implemented?
So you have you can either choose our handbooks that we would have signed, or you can develop your own handbooks as a state enterprise, a public entity, a public body, and send it to us, we approve it. Once it's approved, it is expected now that you follow those guidelines. Anybody from the public, or if we see something on the news that there is a question mark in terms of public procurement, we have the power to go in and investigate.
Right.
So that's how it works. We investigate based on what we have issued in terms of the guidelines and so on. If anybody makes a question or raises a question about a procurement activity in the public body, we can go in and investigate. And there are consequences in terms of if you are found wanting. But the intention really, just let me say here, sorry, but the intention really is to get people to follow the procedures. It's not to go and investigate and put people behind bars and so on. That will happen if people fall foul of the law.
Right.
But really is to get people to operate in a particular way that is transparent, there's accountability, there's integrity in the process, and value for money is obtained in how we spend our money, the public purse.
Fantastic. But you're going to be relying a lot on the work of maybe a whistleblower, somebody who may come forward and say, listen, I believe that in this particular case, there is a matter for the OPR to investigate.
Yes.
So,
and we will be putting things in place to ensure that we have protection for whistleblowing and so on. But anybody could come forward. It doesn't have to be somebody within the realm. For example, in awarding contracts, you have now what is required, a standstill period. During a standstill period, the public entity puts aside, let's say, 15 days, 30 days, and so on, depending on the nature of the contract. And within that standstill period, and somebody objects, we can go in, investigate, and if we find something is wrong, if the contract hasn't been awarded as yet, we can stop the contract. If the contract has been awarded, we can take certain actions in terms of that. But at no time would a third party who has really entered into these contracts with all good intention would be disadvantaged.
will you, I mean, apart from receiving a complaint, in what other ways would you be reviewing contracts issued?
Yes, we will be going and doing a spot check. So we have audit capabilities. We have a full department that we are setting up in terms of review, audit, forensic audits, and so on.
Yes.
And we will be doing spot checks to ensure compliance with the Act. So we will take, let's say, a 1 in 10 contract, go in, investigate, and make sure that best practice is being followed. And
you're setting a certain level of materiality.
Yeah, and the various public bodies are responsible for reporting to us all contracts be above 2 million TT dollars. That's the threshold that was set. However, we can decide if we want reporting below that threshold, if we believe that there is something going on in terms of splitting of contracts and so on.
Correct.
And there is a requirement to check it, we can issue guidelines that calls for that to come to us.
Given the scope of your mandate and the agencies affected under this particular act, what do you say is the average cost of running this office on an annual basis?
Well, the budget and it's a public document, the budget that was set aside for us for this year, the operating expenditure was in the vicinity of about 60 million. And the capital expenditure to help outfitting and putting together the infrastructure and so on was 10 million.
Right.
And what we have proposed for next year is not too dissimilar from this year.
Right. But of course, once you're fully up and operational, we hope that by the end of this calendar year that we can have another report stating, well, look, the act has been fully proclaimed and the OPR is fully operational. That we expect that, hopefully by the end of this calendar year, we can have that good news.
Yeah, well, that's what we hoping to achieve. And the workshop for this week is really getting us there, because we want to get as many of the public bodies and the general public at large to come in and tell us what's on their mind.
Right, their concerns.
Yeah, what are the concerns, what it is about the Act or the guidelines, the handbooks, and the proposed regulations. We want to hear from you. And once we get that feedback, we'll take it on board and then issue the final documents.
Will the OPR then, on an annual basis, report back to the public, to the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, and issue an annual report, much like the Auditor General's report?
Yes, and I'm glad you asked that question, because we do not report to any government minister or politicians as it may. Our report goes directly into Parliament, and it's laid before Parliament. It's going to be have all the information that the public will require. And we will be presenting that to the Parliament, and that will be done on an annual basis, because we are responsible to the people of this country, and we want to make sure that there is total transparency in what we do, and make sure that we report any malpractice or anything. It will go to the Parliament.
Fantastic. The other thing too, Mr. Lalchan, in our country, we always have to ask the ultimate question, well, who guards the guards? As far as the appointment of the board is concerned, if there were concerns about how the OPR itself was operating, what is the process, therefore, available under the Act that can seek to have the chairman of the board removed or a board member removed?
Yeah, all that is contained within the Act. There are specific conditions under which, if you found wanting in terms of conflict of interest and you're not fit for purpose in terms of the Act is very clear in how you could be removed. And the president has that power. If these conditions are fulfilled, you could be removed. And in any event, what happens is that these positions are not forever.
Yes.
In fact, my position is for 5 years. Some of the members are for 3, some are for 4 years.
Yes.
So you will always have continuity. And you can only serve 2 consecutive terms. After that, you must give way to somebody else. And in addition to that, we are proposing to be fully transparent. Any information you require on the OPR, you would see it on the website. We will be having all intention of posting as much information as possible on the website in terms of the operation of this office.
Fantastic. But the work to be done over the ensuing days, you have these workshops and so on. Once you're done with the workshops, you've made your presentations, you've clarified issues and so on. What are the next steps?
Yeah, well, after this workshop, we are hoping to have another workshop, a smaller scale, because in this one, we are actually catering for 100 persons per session. So that's to tell you there's a lot of interest.
Yes.
The other one will be a smaller scale with key personnel, and that will be on the week commencing the 15th of October. And the week commencing the 15th, culminating with the session we have in Tobago on the 19th. So by that time, we will have all the bits and pieces. We have gotten all the feedback from the public.
Yes.
We take that on board and we finalize the document. We have draft regulations. We take it to the minister, and that goes to Parliament. And after that, it's just a matter of pulling all the bits and pieces together for full proclamation.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lalchan.
Let me say in closing, it's been a pleasure, and just appeal to the public. We will only get this thing right if the public stands with us. And I want to appeal to the public. Let's make a difference. Let's be change agents, not same agent.
Correct.
And let's leave a legacy for our children and our grandchildren, where Trinidad will be a place we will all be proud of. Thanks again.
Fantastic work, and I know that you have a lot ahead of you, but our thoughts are with you.
We will get it done. We will get it done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lalchan. Thank you so much for being here. Folks, make sure and get involved. Make sure that you understand the issues surrounding government procurement, public procurement, and all of the surrounding issues. Mr. Lalchan, the issue of the refinery as well will come up for review sometime soon.
There is 2 aspects to this. It's disposal of public property.
That's right.
And procurement. So we will be getting involved with disposal of public property sooner or later.
Hopefully, by that time, the act will be fully proclaimed. Hopefully. All right, folks, we're going to take a break. When we come back, there are some more interesting issues to address. We'll be back.
They say you have the right to criticize, but then you are victimized.